12 noon, and today we have a special half-hour edition of City Line. Hi, I'm Jackie Hall.
And I'm B.T. Bentley. Women of the 80s, a different breed, independent, career-minded, and full of definite opinions on their counterparts.
Join B.T., me, and an all-ladies audience for a discussion of women's views on men.
We'll find out what the women of today expect in dating and marital relationships.
How about sex and money and love? Which do women most value?
Psychologist Dr. Janice Stevenson will be joining us to help discuss these questions and more.
Join City Line for a discussion of women's views on men, up next.
Good afternoon, and thanks for joining us for this edition of City Line. Because it is a half-hour edition, we're going to jump right in and introduce our guest, Dr. Janice Stevenson. Thank you for being with us.
Glad to be here.
Now, I know there are a lot of ladies here going to be taking some pot shots, but let's see if we can define some of the discussion that we're going to be dealing with. When we talk about the women of the 80s, is there something radically different or new about them?
I think in some ways women today are different in that they accept more parts of their personality. They don't limit themselves nearly as much as women of the 40s or the 50s did. They don't see their role as bound in by any parameters set by anyone other than themselves. And so they're willing to take more risks in relationships, in business, in child rearing. They're willing to negotiate more issues in their lives.
Okay. Well, what sorts of things are they saying about us men these days?
A lot. You men are in trouble.
I knew it.
Some of the things that I hear women saying in my practice have to do with the expectations of that man carrying out his role in the home. Women are not going to be tolerant anymore of the assumption by men that when they come in from work and the man comes in from work, the man can sit down while they continue to work. So I hear many more women negotiating contracts with their husband for child care responsibilities, for example. More men now are picking up the children from the daycare center. More men are taking off work when the children are sick. And the women have stronger statements to make about the role that their jobs play in their lives. And the expectation that they're supposed to be at work too, and they can bring home a paycheck equal to or more than the man's on some occasions.
Now, when B.T. asked you a question about what are they saying about men, and you said men are in trouble, but aren't relationships in trouble?
I think,
men and women getting it together and making a go of it.
I think the relationships are going to survive, but they're in a state of transition more so than being in trouble. While this redefinition of roles are taking place, the men and the women are sometimes confused about where we want to go with this. How are we going to negotiate this contract? Will we be able to negotiate in a way that works for the survival of the relationship? And a lot of times, men and women are willing to let go of the relationship rather than sacrifice or compromise the issues that are at hand.
But are men and women having these discussions in their relationships when a man and a woman get together and they've been seeing each other for a while, are they beginning to discuss these kind of issues in terms of their relationship?
They're beginning to, the ones that come into my office are discussing them using me as the referee and using the therapist as the referee sometimes for the discussion. So it is taking place in that arena. It's also taking place in other parts of the community. For example, churches now are more involved in pastoral counseling as a way to negotiate marriages. Couples are looking more toward working out some of these issues prior to marriage, for example. So the negotiating is going on. Okay,
well, before we start allowing these ladies to take some pot shots, I'm not going to be a stationary target. So I'm going to get up and talk to the ladies in the audience.
And while you're doing that, we'll talk about you.
Okay.
Okay, now what part does sex play in all of this stuff, and how has that changed in the 80s, the sex roles?
The male-female relationship is, for the most part, a sexual relationship. The purpose of the relationship traditionally has been procreation, which is the end result of the act of sex. So the relationship is defined by how the two people in it carry out their sexual identity. What risks are they willing to take? How do they define themselves? What are the limits of that relationship? However that sensuality plays itself out in the relationship. These are the kinds of questions that get carried out now as a part of the sexuality of a relationship.
What kinds of problems do partners encounter as a result of the misuse of sex. I know some examples right now, of course I wouldn't name them on the air, of women who use sex, their sexual being to their own benefit. And then I know of men too, who use that to dominate women.
Some, the kinds of issues that I'm hearing coming into the office have to do with women being sometimes afraid in that bedroom to ask for what it is that they want from their mate in the bedroom. I have several couples with whom I'm currently working who are struggling with the man's anger at the woman being assertive, for example, or aggressive in that relationship, or the woman struggling with guilt about that somehow or another she's doing something wrong or she's doing something inappropriate. Yet these same women will go out of that home into the business office and be very aggressive and very assertive as they carry out their business tasks. And then there's a conflict when they have to come back into the home with that.
Okay, now we're going to hear from the ladies themselves.
Yes, Jackie, we have a question right here in the audience that deals with that very point.
I'd like to know how you've been dealing with black men that have a problem dealing with professional black women, and the fact that they feel very insecure in dealing with them and letting them be a whole, total person.
Are you asking how I, as a woman, deal with it, or how I hear it played out in my practice?
Yes. How do you counsel the men that come to you that you find that have this problem?
Okay. What I'm hearing in the practice is that men are intimidated by a woman that they need to take a quieter position at their side. The women are not taking a quieter position. They're demanding their own structure. They're demanding that the man be quiet at their side sometimes. And the men are angry about it, but the women are saying, that's your problem. I don't have to be responsible for your anger. You're responsible to negotiate that anger with me. And between the two of us, we have to work together for the relationship to survive. And then what happens within the therapy hour is that we negotiate that. How he can work out his anger, how she can work out her anger, and how their hurt feelings can come together because of the bond that goes on between them so the relationship can continue.
You know, that's a point that perhaps we need to explore a little bit further, only because black women, for the most part, have not been homebound through the generations. And so that as we move up in the corporate structure, I'm sure that that's putting a lot of pressure on the relationships. But we're going to discuss that when we come back. But right now, we're going to take a break. So please stay with us for Women's Views on Men. City Line, talking about women's views on men, and I'm going to throw it right quickly to BT in the audience.
Okay, Jackie, things are heating up already with this question, I'm sure. Go ahead.
Yes, I'd like to know why are black men gravitating toward white women? And I don't have any real personal problem with that, but I'd just like to hear talked about more. Maybe I can become more comfortable with the whole issue.
I think there are two answers to that, actually. One is the cultural answer to it. We're all socialized into a society, into the American society, that promotes this ideal white woman figure as the one to be sought after. And now with some release from some of the tenets of oppression in our society, men feel freer, and I hear black men saying this sometimes, they feel freer to pursue whatever's out there, and so they see themselves as pursuing a person, not a racial figure. And yet you'll find men who habitually pursue women who all are either very light-skinned or white, or who carry on a lot of the physical characteristics that this ideal model is supposed to be. And the men won't define it as a racial issue, but I think it's hard to ignore the racial overtones. The other part of it, though, is the exercising of a freedom that's supposed to exist in our society to pick and choose whomever you wish as a partner. What part of the problem for the black woman is that too many of our black men are being channeled into self-destructive and socially unacceptable parts of our society, so they're not as available for us. And then somehow or other, the black woman does not seem to be as available to men of other races and other ethnic groups. So it seems to be an imbalance in that pursuit.
Well, what is this then going to do in terms of the choices of black women in terms of finding, in quotation marks, those good men?
Part of what it means is that the black woman has to be real clear on what it is that she wants and what she defines as a good man, and then be as limitless as she can in the pursuit of that good man. One of the things that I hear, and this is coming from some of my work with adolescents, is that the adolescent female now is very aggressive in her pursuit of a male. And she does not limit herself by any boundaries at all. So if she sees a guy she wants, she goes and gets him. And she doesn't care what his color is as long as he meets some criteria that she has. And women in the 20s, 30s, and 40-year age range are not being quite that aggressive. And so they sit waiting patiently for this good black guy to come knock on the door and say, here I am. And he's busy out looking for somebody else.
So the adolescent is the woman of the year 2000.
The adolescent is the woman of the year 2000, and she is going to be something else.
We should do another show on that.
Well, I'm going to stay out of this, but do have another question here. Yes, ma'am.
Hi. What do you suggest would be a good approach to stimulate conversation, positive conversation about sensitive subjects without irritating your mate?
I don't have any problem with irritating your mate, so that's there's nothing wrong with him being irritated or stirred up. Are you asking me how to start the conversation?
Yes.
I would like to be able to talk with you about this topic. Can we sit and talk about it?
What subject do you have in mind?
Well, possibly if you're looking at where your relationship is going and what your future plans are, that's usually very sensitive for most men to deal with because they begin to feel pressured.
I think it's also sensitive for women to deal with too, because a lot of times I'll hear women talking about a struggle between the fantasy life that they have about where they think relationships should go, where Cinderella has said it should go, and where Sleeping Beauty has said it should go, versus what the realities of adult life say will happen to a relationship. And so it will require being willing to talk about intimacy, being willing to talk about anger, being willing to talk about selfishness, and whatever other issues are going to impact upon the maintenance of a relationship. Relationships take an awful lot of work. And I think sometimes we underestimate how much work it takes, and we're not willing to do it.
But women are more inclined to talk, are more inclined to reveal their feelings, whereas men, in the past, it appears, has been trained to kind of guard feelings because it makes a stronger figure. How do you break through it?
I think part of what it means is that we as women have a responsibility then to teach them that it is okay to feel. I have a psychologist friend of mine who in his clinical practice with other men, particularly black men, does what he calls education about feelings, and he will say to men sometimes, this is a feeling right here. See, you're feeling this right now. The name of this feeling is whatever it may be, so that they can learn that it's okay to feel them. They're not going to be destroyed by it. You're not going to consume them because they have these feelings, and we can actually negotiate and work out how to handle that feeling and still survive. You're not going to run out on them, and you're not going to beat them up.
Okay, we've got a call. Hi, you're on City Line. Do you have a question or a comment?
Yes, I have a comment. Hello?
Yes, please go ahead.
Oh, okay. I have a comment. I feel that a lot of men today get away from responsibilities to themselves, society. I have a lot of male friends, and a lot of them that are in relationships, they feel that they have no choice of being in a relationship. They were in the relationship because what the woman want, not what they want. A lot of them don't seem to have a sense of direction. Their goals are not clear, and this has a reflection on the relationship with women. And as far as women are concerned, I think women is not select in their choice of a mate, and they take a mate out of desperation.
Okay, hold on just a moment. We'll get an answer.
Okay.
It's an interesting comment that you make. I have colleagues of mine who speak about not being complete as a person without a relationship, that if they don't have a man by their side, or if they don't have an escort and a bedmate, then they have not succeeded as people in life. And this is regardless of education or vocation or financial resources, that without that man, they're nothing. And so then they go out pursuing men simply for the sake of having a man at their side. That's very scary, because then you don't know what it is you're looking for. You don't know when you find what is needed by you. You don't know if the relationship is healthy or unhealthy, and you don't know how to work to maintain the relationship. And so you take unnecessary risks that put you in danger in a relationship, and it becomes a real mess. And it becomes a lot of work to untangle yourself from that position. Part of being in a relationship means being responsible for the health of that relationship. Part of being responsible for that means knowing what it is that you want, what's good for you, and what's not good for you. And being willing to be without a relationship while you wait for what you want. And that sometimes is real scary for a lot of us, both males and females. We aren't always willing to do that.
Okay, thank you for that call.
Thank you.
Okay, bye-bye. Again, we'll take a break and continue our discussion of women's views on men. Stay with us.
Now here's this week's community calendar.
Hello, my name is Maxine Cunningham. Freedom Chapter of the American Business Women's Association invites you to be a part of our annual Woman of the Year celebration on Sunday, March 16th at the La Fontainebleau, beginning at 3 p.m. There will be a special tribute to outstanding businesswomen. Catherine Pugh will be our guest speaker. For tickets and further information, call 235-1510.
If your group or organization would like to announce an event, please write us in care of City Line, WJZ-TV, Television Hill, Baltimore, Maryland, 21211, or call us for further information at 466-0013 between the hours of 9 and 5.
Back on City Line discussing women's views on men, and I'm going to maintain my innocent observer role and allow this lady here to ask a question or comment.
Yes, I have a comment that I would like to make, and I would like to just say that I find in black male and female relationships, we find some men, they're on, I feel like some kind of ego trip, and I don't know if it's because the women have let them become to the part where they feel that they can do what they want, and then they go right back to the women because the women they'll let them come back. You find that some women can be abused, and they act like they like it. I see people, and I wonder, well, where are your priorities? You know, when are you going to stop letting yourself be abused? I realize that we as women are queens, and we should carry ourselves in that manner, and stop letting some of the men abuse us to the point that they have. Get ourselves together and realize that, hey, you're not going to treat me like this anymore, so therefore I'm going to stop.
Several really excellent points. One is the issue about women being queens. There are several books out now in the field about how women in this society are socialized to be submissive, docile, passive, and to have great expertise at picking out men who will abuse and who will berate you and who will humiliate you, and that the women will participate very actively in those relationships by mislabeling the quality of the relationship. They will not label these men as dangerous or as hurtful. They will not label the relationships as dangerous. And so when they find themselves hurt, it's like, well, that was a fluke. He didn't really mean that. And when he comes back and says, oh, baby, baby, I love you, it's going to be better the next time, let's go hop in the bed together, then she's saying, oh, he loves me, it's okay, it's real, and we're going to go into the sunset together. And that is a societal problem, not just of any one group, but a societal problem. Women have really got to treat themselves as queen. We are, and we have to start by believing it for ourselves first. Don't settle for less than what you want, and don't want garbage.
Now, this whole idea, though, about men, But isn't it a part of the male attitude that we often see exhibited? Isn't that because they feel they're in the minority and they're sought after because there are many more women than there are men, and therefore I've got the pick of the lot?
I think I hear that more so nowadays from black men than any other group of men, especially the professional black men who say it quite that clearly. Well, I am an endangered species.
Yes.
And so you had better take care of me because I can go get someone else. You're replaceable. And women do not really have to settle for that kind of attitude because I am just as endangered as he is, and I am just as special as he is.
Okay. Let's try a call from home. Hi there. Are you in touch with City Line?
Hello.
Yeah. Oh, we have an endangered species on the line. How are you? Go ahead.
Okay, first of all, I'd like to make a statement in regards to the question about black men and white women. Okay, it needs to be understood before anything can be evaluated on that situation. That first of all, society develops as generations come along. Okay, and with this come different values. If society is pressed to destroy the problem of racism, so do some of the old values. Okay, I'm not saying that a black man should prefer a white woman over a black woman. I'm not saying a black man should prefer a black woman over a white woman. What I'm saying is that as society changes, so do values. And it's not just because a black man he's scared of the black woman's power or he's scared of her ability to interact in society now. It's just that a black man, because of society, because of his changes, men in particular, white men also in particular.
Okay, now you sound this sounds very intellectual and very philosophical. Now let's get to the real point. What do you think? What is your preference?
What is my preference?
Yes.
The way I was raised, the way I developed, I prefer black women. I am a black man, and I prefer black women.
Okay, how do you feel when you see black men with white women?
How do I feel? The way I was raised, I feel why. Well, first of all, I'm gonna put it this way: when I see black women with white men, that gets to me also because the way I was raised.
Okay.
It comes to mind as something that needs to be understood, and something that I myself have come to understand. That society is changing, and people are changing.
Okay. Well, great. Thank you. We're going to get some comments from Dr. Stevenson. Hold on a while.
Thank you.
Okay, I think the one comment I have is that the way in which I hear the changes in the society reflected by participants in this relationship is when I hear the other race member saying, I'm not seeking a racial member, I'm seeking a person who is my partner. And that partner is what's important to me, and so it doesn't make any difference to me what color they are. And yet you do see patterns of behavior set up over time that suggest that there are sociological issues being played out within this relationship, and that there are issues of the society being played out within this relationship. I think we try to deny that sometimes. It's not scary.
Okay, thanks for the call.
You're welcome.
Okay, well, thank you, Dr. Stevenson, for being here with us today.
I enjoyed it.
My heavens, we didn't get to all of the issues that we could have discussed. We're going to have to do this again, and hopefully in a full hour. Thank you again. That's City Line today. I'm Jackie Hall. Goodbye.
Thanks for being with us. A very lively discussion.
Yes, but we could go on and on now. We've got to do this again.
Black History Month is coming up. We've got a lot of special things. Stay tuned. I'm B.T. Bentley.
I'm Jackie Hall. Have a good Sunday.
Bye-bye.